gang, welcome to Vital Vinyl. My name is Vernon Smith. If you are new here, welcome aboard. If you're a long-time faithful watcher, subscriber, viewer, welcome back. Today I'm not really going to be talking about records so much. Going to be taking a break from that for the most part and focusing more on the systems that play them and how you could get one for hopefully not a lot of money. Different places where you can check and you can get stuff, and how to develop one system of your own. Try and do it with as little verbal stumbles as possible, I say, while verbally stumbling as much as possible. So for those of you that don't know, I got into records, and not too long after that, stereo stuff, to be technical, back in 1988 when I was a little punk rock skater boy at the age of 14. That's when I got into records, and a few years later, started developing a hi-fi system on my own. Had a German dual turntable, then picked up some other stuff from the stores. But then, in 2005, being from New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina came and washed it all away, and so I pretty much switched to digital music on an iPod, plugged into just little desktop computer speakers, and kind of rocked that for the next 15 to 17, however many years it's been, years. But then last year, back in 2022, I picked up a cheap little Insignia turntable from Best Buy and was like, why not? What could possibly go wrong? This is what could go wrong. Cutaways. That Insignia Best Buy turntable broke after about 3 days. Nice. Which was weird because it seemed like a pretty solid thing. Like, it had some nice features to it, like some high-end features. But no, you get what you pay for, I guess. Returned it, got my money back. And then not too long after that, saw that somebody was pretty much curbing some big speakers and a turntable, and it said that it just needed like a belt and a needle. So I was like, all right, yeah. Oh, and they had a receiver with it too, which I'll show you right here if you don't mind, and if you do, well, can't stop me. This receiver right here, an Optimus from the 90s, which is just a rebranded Pioneer receiver, and it's pretty freaking awesome. So guy was getting rid of that, and so I showed up there, and the turntable that he had apparently needed a lot of work, so he threw in another turntable that was working. It was like the Stanton DJ turntable, but it wasn't really what I was looking for, so flipped those both at a pawn shop, combined with the money from the Insignia, picked up an Audio-Technica LP3 that was also on sale, so I got it for about $100 cheaper than what it retails for. So that was cool. And then from there, picked up the cassette deck, had someone send me a CD player because I mentioned that I wanted one that matched kind of the 70s 80s brushed aluminum style, and then also this little receiver down there along with this component, and so we'll get into all that. But where to get those things, where to get them at a good price. I doubt any of what I'm saying is going to come as any big surprise to a lot of people, especially anyone that's been doing this for a while. But when I started getting into it, there wasn't really a comprehensive list of, oh, hey, here's some places you can go and look for stuff. So if this helps anyone new, then awesome. So yeah, let's see. First of all, thrift stores. Depending on where you are, thrift stores can be amazing and great for picking up vintage stereo equipment, or even not so vintage but maybe kind of old, or maybe even current if someone's just getting rid of something because they got something newer. Unfortunately, here in the New Orleans area, from what I've seen the past at least year or so, because I remember going to thrift stores like way long ago, and they used to have a ton of stuff, but now not so much. It's pretty much just, yeah, little desktop computer speakers, the occasional CD player that, you could get a new one for like $50, and they're selling them for like $10-15, but they look just not really worth it. Like, you might as well just spend a little extra cash and get something newer. I haven't really seen anything in thrift stores around here, but depending on where you live, give it a shot, because I've seen a lot of people online, like either in forums from years ago or even currently, like in different groups online, where people are picking up amazing equipment for not a lot of money at thrift stores. So check your local thrift stores, and that way you can go, and they usually have power strips, you can plug stuff in and you can check it out. And so yay. Craigslist, same thing. Just plug in either speakers or vintage stereo, and at least here a good bit of stuff comes up. Not a lot to where you're gonna get some high-end piece of equipment for like $50, but they have stuff for decent prices, because it's usually somebody wanting to get rid of something like immediately, as opposed to like eBay, where people just put it up and forget about it. Usually if it's like Craigslist or even Facebook Marketplace, it's somebody looking to get rid of something pretty quickly. And if the price is a little bit higher than what you want, you can probably go and check it out. And if you're cool and you talk to people and chat them up and have a conversation, you might be able to talk them down 10, 20, $30, or more. I don't know, develop your haggling skills. But first and foremost, which I should have gotten to, but I don't script this, but I had it in my mind earlier and I forgot, because I do that too. The main thing you need is just a little patience. Beyond being just a shitty Guns N' Roses song, it's also a staple to getting this stuff. Like, if there's something that you want in your mind after doing research, which is another thing you should do. We'll get back to that in a second. Just have some patience. Like, these different things that I'm going to tell you to check, just check them over and over for like weeks, maybe even months if you have to. Something usually will pop up with what you're looking for. And if not, maybe something that you didn't know that you turns out you did want, but you just didn't know it yet. After doing some research, which I guess that's what we'll segue into now. Why not? Yeah, do some research on what you're looking for. When I first got into doing this, was like, all right, I want like 70s or 80s kind of brushed aluminum wood container stereo equipment, but I didn't really know what kind or even what decade, because like I said, 70s or 80s. Then after kind of checking it out more, because a lot of this was just based upon like my stepdad's stereo that was in the house when I was a kid. It was like this rack component system, and it was really cool, and it sounded really nice, and it just looked really cool too. So kind of when researching this stuff more and more, I found that what I was looking for, at least aesthetically, was leaning more towards the 70s stuff. Like, I wanted stuff with the meters on it, like there we go, that and that down there. I thought it just looked cool, like bouncing around back and forth. Super shallow, whatever. I don't care. The whole thing is for looks. If I wanted just the sound, I'd just get like some pill JBL Bluetooth speaker for a couple $100 and subscribe to iTunes or Apple Music, whatever it's called now, or Amazon Premium or Spotify Premium, whatever. For $15 a month, you have hundreds of thousands of songs, and those little speakers sound amazing. So yeah, if you want it just for the sound, do that. It'll save you a ton of hassle. But yeah, this is just, it's cool looking, whatever. I'm not even gonna lie about it. So yeah, I found that I wanted stuff with the little blah, 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 blah meters on it. And so that was kind of more 70s style. And whenever I would look for things that I wanted or saw things that were like, oh, this is a good price, just type it into Google and you'll see, you can put review after, or even just put in that, brand or model number. And there'll be a list of things, like different forums, like, a lot of stuff from the past 20 years, like Audio Karma. I think it's Steve Hoffman TV. A couple other things that pop up regularly where people actually have posted things like, hey, I saw a Kenwood blah 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 6.5 blah blah blah, is this a good thing? And people be like, yeah, it's great. Oh, you saw it for $50, definitely pick it up. Or it's crap, that's their bottom of the line department store thing that sounds like crap. And and then you can even pop them into YouTube, because there's people that review stuff like that. There's things, Skylab is like a place where that's like an actual shop that rebuilds stuff, and this guy will talk about things that comes in his shop. And there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube. PS Audio, Cheap Audio Man, like all those guys, talk about different vintage stuff. So if you're getting into this for the first time, we're switching gears again. I guess we'll talk about like different levels of stuff. The more high-end stuff is like Marantz, Kenwood, Sansui, probably a couple more. But that's like, you're going to spend like thousands of dollars, and that's kind of not the point of this. What I got is a couple $100 and it works awesome. Myself, I've kind of gravitated towards Techniques, not for any particular reason, but I mean, I knew the brand. And here we go, jumping around again. Apparently JVC stuff from the 70s, not so good. I remember as a kid in the 90s, it was awesome. Or not kid, teenager in the 90s. JVC was awesome, but apparently in the 70s, it was dog shit. So, I guess kind of avoid that. But, some, like, good mid-range brand from the 70s. I don't know. Onkyo, Sony. Well, Sony's, like, mid and high, because I remember, like, my high school girlfriend's dad was a big stereo guy. He's the one that gave me that dual turntable. He had a stereo shop back in the 80s, and I know he was like a big fan of Sony. Their stuff from the 70s and early 80s. So yeah, Sony probably somewhere in between high and mid. Hitachi, Techniques, Akai is good, Pioneer. Pioneer's kind of more higher end, like I said. What's the other one? TIAC or Teak. Those are pretty decent as well. And so I guess we should get back to other places where you can find stuff. Facebook Marketplace is another good one. Type in vintage stereo, type in speakers, and I've I see it, just, you know, I mean, I'm not really looking for anything now, but it's nice just to skim stuff, see if you find something that'd be cool, and, you know, put it on a birthday wish list to your significant other or to your significant self, whatever. Depends on how much disposable income you got. But again, I'm assuming, or at least kind of aiming for, low disposable income. Let's try and build a whole thing for like, I don't know, $500. That sound good? Sure. Oh yeah, so when I got this stuff, these speakers, like, they needed to be refoamed. Some guy was getting rid of it. He's like, yeah, I got like a whole new system, so I don't, you know, I'm just kind of tossing this. I was like, all right. But refoamed the speakers, found a refoam kit from simplyspeakers.com, your home of simplyspeakers.com. See, I could write jingles. And yeah, it was like about $20-$30 for a refoam kit. It's just like the circles that surround the woofers, if that's made it onto the screen. But yeah, and it took me about, I don't know, 2-3 hours to do. Should only take you about an hour, but I'd never done it before. But there are several videos on the YouTube. You're already here. Just look over there somewhere. Or I'm not linking anything, but yeah, you know what a search button is. Simply Speakers has their own channel where they walk you through refoaming speakers, and there's other people that have done too. If you just like type in whatever kind of speakers you got. Mine were Advent Laureates, and I typed that in, and there was someone else that was doing it too. So watch those two videos, kind of pieced it together, and voila, as the French say. Yeah, Facebook Marketplace. I also got this Neato Cheeto Dandy Burrito stereo cabinet from some people across the lake, which is like about 25 miles from here, so a little half-hour drive. They were moving, I don't know, someone like this huge fucking house, but like an old couple, like in their 70s or 80s, that I guess were maybe moving to a retirement community or moving somewhere else. I don't know. I didn't really ask particulars, but the lady was like, yeah, we're selling the house. So we have to fit a 5,000 square foot house into a 1,400 square foot house. So yeah, they're just getting rid of a bunch of stuff, and they had the cabinet up there for like $35, and I'd been looking all over for a cabinet, and pretty solid. Got the neat little magnetic doors. Boom. And yeah, pretty solid on wheels. Like, I'd been looking online, and these things were like a couple $100, and not even really what I was looking for. Like, didn't have the glass doors, and just kind of more modern looking. And I'm hitting thrift stores, not finding anything. Like, I found one thing that was like some crappy little flimsy thing for like $10, and had no shelves, which this one had no shelves either, but yeah, they threw in some wood in there, and so yeah, I stained it and put it in there, and yeah, it works. And they even threw in some stereo equipment since they were getting rid of all that too, so picked up this handy dandy receiver, which is a Technics receiver from 1977, and they also had like this little 90s CD player, which needed some work. Like, back feet were missing, so I just threw some other ones on there. And the reader itself, it kind of skips sometimes, but that's not really a CD player I mostly use. But I got it just to kind of match that Black Optimus one, so kind of got a little 90s stereo going on there as well. Sort of vintagey retro as the years go by, since the 90s were like 30 years ago. So yeah. But yeah, got this little receiver there, and then I found a matching tape deck online at another source for getting vintage stereo equipment, which is shopgoodwill.com. It's kind of like a network of Goodwill stores, thrift stores from around the country. And again, just type in, either speakers or vintage stereo, and a bunch of stuff comes up. You're not normally, at least from what I've seen, gonna find stuff that's like super cheap. You will occasionally, and that's what I did here with this cassette player, which, like I said, is also from 1977, which matches my receiver from 1977. So that was really cool. I did take a chance on it because it said untested, which a lot of the stuff on there unfortunately says untested, which is kind of crappy, but I'll probably save that rant for another day. Basically, if you're selling stuff, you can do more than just plug it in and see if the lights come on. But this thing was going for like $20. It eventually, and it's mostly like old school eBay style, or what you'll see, somewhat on eBay still, where it's like bidding. Most eBay is buy it now, but a lot of stuff like this on there is bid style. There's not a whole lot of buy it now from what I've seen. But yeah, it was like $20-25, and it was up there for like a week, and then on the last day it went for like $40. So I hopped in there, bid on it, got it, and it was like another $30 for shipping, which isn't bad. You want it packaged well and shipped right. You don't want it just like wrapped in paper and with a handful of stamps on it, and so it's only $10 for shipping. But I got it. It came in, everything like lit up. I didn't have a tape, so I couldn't test the sound, but all the buttons worked. Fast forward, play, rewind, everything all good. Even the record button, so it's like I could push my finger up into the record thing and then hit the record button when I'm playing music, and like the little meter needles will go because it's thinking it's recording something. So yeah, a cool little visual aesthetic thing. But then I did get my hand on the tape and I put it in, and it sounded kind of muffled, but then it turned out I just needed to flick some of the switches, like the tape was set on Chrome instead of normal, and then something else was set for out instead of in, so whenever I flicked those, it kind of cleared it up. It still has a bit of a warble to it, so I think I might need to change the belts, because I did take it apart and the belts felt a little loose, but it wasn't anything I could like really, really get to. But I did find a video, which again, YouTube, if you need to repair stuff, if depending on your skill and expertise and that kind of stuff, which mine is pretty minimal, but for belts, I was like, yeah, I can take a belt off of, it's like changing an alternator belt in your car. But yeah, when it arrived, it, looked in pretty good shape. And then whenever I took it apart and checked out the belts, the inside was super clean, like crazy. Like I'm really surprised that it kind of has that warbly sound, because whoever had it before obviously took some kind of care of it. But yeah, shopgoodwill.com. It's a bit of a dice toss on whether you'll find something good or not, but sometimes you will. I've seen some stuff that kind of looks but some stuff that looks pretty good. I mentioned eBay. eBay is a good source for if there's nothing in your area and you can find stuff, but you're gonna have to pay. You're not gonna get like any super deals. Like you're not gonna grab a Marantz for $200 or something like that, or even like like this tape deck I've seen on there for like $250, $300. But they're usually, they're serviced, they're tested. People on there will tell you, because like the shop Goodwill, it's like it's a thrift store. Like they're just wanting to get rid of stuff. Sometimes you can find stuff like in a real thrift store, like a physical store. You can find good stuff. But yeah, on eBay, like these and that receiver, I've seen them on there for like, yeah, 200-300 bucks. But like I said, they're usually at least tested, sometimes refurbished, sometimes somewhere in between where it's like, all right, we've cleaned it up, we've sprayed it with deoxit to get like the knobs aren't staticky, so it's at least kind of getting you started. And then some things will be pretty cheap. Like I've seen this CD player, which is like brushed aluminum style to kind of match the 70s aesthetic, and I've seen them for like 30 bucks. And yeah, this one works pretty good. So, and another cool thing with eBay is if it is someone that's got it not in a buy it now, but maybe it's in an auction, or maybe it isn't a buy it now, but you see that, because it's not put up there for an infinite amount of time. So if it's an auction and it's up for a week and then it gets down to like the last day or two and no one's bid on it, or if it's like in a buy it now and it's been up for like 3.5 weeks and it's coming up on the month where it's only got a handful of days left, message to people, send a message, even if it doesn't have like a make offer, which a lot of them do have a make offer, so you can do that too. But if not, just send a message to the seller and be like, oh, hey, I see you've got this Kenwood Mille for, $250. And, the shipping's going to be like $50 also. So, would you take two for it? Sometimes they'll say, yeah. I've known people that, yeah, sometimes they'll say, yeah. Sometimes they might be like, I'll meet you in the middle, do 220, 225. And so you're still knocking off, 10, 15, 20% off of what you'd be paying. It's like you're getting it because you have to pay tax on eBay. So like getting it without paying the tax. And so the prices that you see is the price that you pay, and you don't have to worry about any hidden fees cropping up later. Yeah. So let's see. Another, and I guess final way of getting stuff is talk to your friends, either in person or if you're on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, post something on there being like, hey, I'm getting into vintage audio equipment. Anybody I know got something that they're looking to get rid of? People might give it away for free. People might sell it to you for, a decent price because they're a friend of yours and they just want to kind of get it out of the house. It might be like, oh yeah, I got some, can't think of any brands at the moment. Hitachi. I got a Hitachi receiver that belonged to my mom or my dad or something, and it's just been sitting in the attic. $100. All right, cool. Good way to start. Or even in person. Because myself, personally, we're going to bring it all back to me now, because that's my favorite subject. I was hanging out with some friends of mine who we get together every now and then for a little coffee club and just dish. And yeah, I was saying how I was getting back into, stereo stuff. I just picked up like that black receiver that I showed you so long ago, and was like, yeah, I want to get like the brushed aluminum silver stereo stuff. And one of my buddies there was like, dude, I got a couple of those, you want one? I was like, sure. He's like, yeah, it's a Realistic, which is another good brand. It was a Radio Shack brand, but they were made by Tandy, I know, for a while, and a couple other stuff. Yeah, Radio Shack just like rebranded popular stuff, or like name brand stuff from back then. Like, yeah, that Optimus was a Pioneer. I think they did some other Pioneer or Panasonic stuff in the 70s as well. But yeah, hold on a second and I'll go downstairs and show you the one that he gave me. Dum, 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 dum. This motherfucker right here Look at that. With the wooden cabinet. Dude, nice. Separate volume channel sliders. Like, how cool is that? All for the price of nothing. And whenever I did have like an issue with it, because I had like the volume was kind of acting weird. Since he'd done some work on it, he's kind of an electronics guy, and so I hit him up again next time I saw him. Was like, hey, the volume's acting kind of weird. Can you come check it out? And so he was able to do that too. So that was pretty neato. And we solved the problem and lived happily ever after. The end. Good night. So yeah, those are some other ways of getting hopefully a nice setup for not a lot of money. And in this day and age, with the economy the way it is, that's pretty good. Otherwise, if you want, just get a Marantz 2270 for like $2,500. Get a Marantz 2250 tape deck for $1,500. Get a Techniques, was it the S1200 for like somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500, and for the low price of $6,000, you could have part of a stereo. That's before you even get your speakers. Which, I mean, if you want to get those are pretty awesome. A buddy of mine's got that receiver and that turntable, and yeah, they are kick-ass, and they will last a long time. But so will these, and for real. And if they break, there are still some people around that can fix them, or there's, like I said, the almighty YouTube. You're here now. Look it up. But yeah, but you get something like this for, I mean, let's see. Now, keep in mind, I got mine for a lot less, doing some wheeling and dealing and luck of the draw, which, dude, that'll play into it too. Like, you'll probably stumble across some free things, some trade things, some whatever things. But if we went strictly retail and eBay price, say $200 for the receiver. This was $70 that I got it for, so we'll go with that. Like I said, I've seen these for $30, so that's $300. These go for like, I mean, I got mine on sale, but I've seen them for like $250, so it's $550. And then, yeah, speakers, you get some decent speakers for like $100. There's these cool ones that I've seen that are bookshelf speakers, the Sony SS-CS5s. I've heard a lot of people saying a lot of good things about them. So yeah, for like $600, you could get a pretty rockin' system. And that's half the price of the cheapest of those high-end components that I was talking about before. So if you want to go high-end, go for it. Nothing wrong with it. But if you're just starting out, if you just want a modest system, if you don't have a lot of money to spare, then hopefully this rambly, schmambly, pambly video helped you. If you like this sort of content, don't forget to like and subscribe to things. It'll help the channel to... And if you don't hate me too much and want to hear about, I don't know, punk rock music and other stuff that I've got on vinyl, check out some of the other videos or tune back in, because I've still got some other stuff left that I haven't talked about. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching, and until next time.